What have you found that works for you when it comes to reaching potential clients and then converting them into paying clients? Many find that creating engaging content is a proven marketing method that resonates with potential buyers, but it goes beyond pushing content to market when the buyer needs it. In fact, some might do that. They might think they need this now, so I'm going to push content to them now. But we need to think bigger than that. So to speak to this, I welcome Ed Marsh, the founder and principal of Concilium Global Business Advisors. Ed, welcome to the program.
Thank you, Jeff. It's always great to chat, and I feel intimidated because I don't think anybody thinks bigger about content than you do. And so, I'm kind of preaching to the choir here.
Well, you can preach all day because we need this, don't we? It's content is king. Content that will engage is going to get results.
Right.
So really our topic is about topics, content topics, the different types of content that we could use to gain business, to get the attention of those who are buying. So I'm going to turn over to you. Why don't you set it up for us with some data?
Yeah. So we'll talk about topics. We'll talk about how to deliver that. We'll talk about how to reach people with it. But first, the question is why? And, you know, for many years, we understood that people turned to the internet and they searched. And so we wanted content that answered the questions they might be asking Google. So we'd pop up. But I think there's new research that even takes it further. Some of the numbers that I've seen that really jumped out. Number one, 71% of buyers eventually select the vendor that originally topped their evaluation shortlist. You know, they put together a list of 3 or 4 companies. The one that was on that list first is the one that gets the business 71% of the time. 86% shortlist vendors based on their familiarity that they just had before they began research. And 50% use peer conversations to help identify preferred vendors. So in other words, yes, they use the internet, but they're also reaching out to somebody in a community and saying, hey, you know, you've dealt with this before. What do you recommend? And so all of that together means that the content that is kind of the most common type of content marketing we see, which tends to focus on why someone should select us compared to competitors at, you know, what we might call the decision stage in the buying journey, that may not be worth the inordinate or disproportionate focus that companies tend to put on it, because they've got to reach people so that they're part of that, you know, that early pre-awareness sort of a stage so that they get put on that short list. So the question then becomes, how can we reach people with creative ideas and thoughtful perspectives before they have the need, before they're spending time thinking about something, before they're creating the short list? So the goal has to be how to be top of mind, come up in peer conversations, be right there in the initial brainstorming to get us at the top of that short list. And that means then that we've got some kinds of content that may be different than the typical decision content that we traditionally think about.
I know, thank you, Ed. I know when we were discussing this episode, the words pre-awareness, you mentioned that, awareness, consideration, leading to decision, all of these work together. Can you describe what those are in practical terms?
Yeah, so if we think about not us in the seat where we're trying to market and sell, but us as customers or prospects or business people that have problems that we're trying to sort out, I think we'll have an easier time understanding that. So let's start with pre-awareness. I'm not an expert in your space like many of your guests are, but I'm going to take a stab at maybe suggesting a possible scenario that might resonate and make sense. So let's think about facilities management. Pre-awareness content in facilities management might include topics like, you know, how to extend the life of EPDM roofing, or the latest stats on what's trending in slip and fall risk, or tips for how to optimize conversions of traditional public restrooms into the new unisex configurations, or maybe even the impact of LED lighting on reduced worker comp claims. So those have nothing to do with hiring a facilities management sort of a firm, but they're topics that are going to be top of mind at various times for your prospects as they think about how to improve their operation, and they'll touch on building services at least tangentially. So it gives an opportunity for them to become acquainted with you, and your firm is establishing authority, you're building trust, you're building awareness, you're helping them do their job better, And you're never, ever, ever talking about why you're different than someone else or why they ought to hire you or what your prices are or what your checklist is to make sure that the bathrooms are clean or any of those kinds of things. So that's pre-awareness, and that helps you be top of mind. Then there's awareness, which is kind of where maybe they're saying they've got something that they think they need to work on, not just to be aware of how to improve their operation, but they've got a problem. So, I mean, in this case, it might be information on research into how restroom and break room cleanliness impacts employee reactions to initiatives to return to the office, or maybe advantages of new flooring laminates that eliminate the need for stripping and waxing, or maybe traffic flow studies that show how the location of a paper recycling station in the office can improve compliance. So things, topics we might say that relate to the maintenance services that would highlight for them the fact that some vendors actually create additional value and think bigger picture and help them in ways besides just making sure a reliable crew shows up every night with mops and vacuums. That's kind of the table stakes. That's baseline. So we want to be better than that. So if they're wondering why they have to pay to strip the floor so often and have the inconvenience of moving the furniture, then maybe this helps them to gently connect some of their frustrations with mediocre performance with the current vendor to what might really create a better situation, things they hadn't even thought about, but you establish the expertise or bring it to them. Then, we can go a step further. Then we might talk about consideration content. And so this is where somebody's saying, okay, now I got to get serious about what my next steps are. We might be thinking about trying to reach people who are wondering about their next contract renewal. And so, for instance, it could be, tips on 7 important gotchas to be aware of in how many building services contracts are written, or advice on a planning checklist and how long before renewal they should begin the process, or maybe even guidance on how to document underperformance with a current vendor in case they have to seek remedies or early termination of an agreement. And then, of course, we come to decision content, and we don't need to belabor that because companies have that really figured out. That's why we do what we do, why we do it well, what makes us different, all that kind of stuff. Then, I guess the last category might be success content, and success content is kind of the redheaded stepchild. People don't think about it very much. They get the deal, they're servicing the deal, and they're on to thinking about the next deal, except you want renewals, you want recommendations, you want referrals, you want expansion into other services, and success content as content for your current customers can really help. I mean, it can achieve all of those additional growth goals. And so the question is, what might be examples of success content? I would say perhaps things like maybe best practices for holiday bonuses for building service contractor employees who are, the folks in your building every night that may not get the recognition that they ought to, that you'd really love to recognize them and help make their holidays better. Or what's guidance on creating surveys that can help identify maintenance issues before they become a problem. So rather than just get ambushed or blindsided sitting in your office opening your email one morning, you're proactively engaging with people in your company, in your facility, and knowing about them ahead of time so you can solve them before they become big problems. Or maybe even information about how your company supports the community by hiring veterans or folks with autism or other disadvantaged groups. Those are, I think, examples of success content that can really help to engage. And as you well know, Jeff, and we'll probably talk about this a little bit more. I mean, none of this happens by accident. It takes work. It takes a very deliberate mindset. It takes great organization. It takes an editorial calendar. But I'm talking about things that you know far more about than I do at this point.
You're hired because you have great topics that the industry needs, but you laid it out nicely. The details are important. In fact, anyone watching this, if they were to take the transcript of this video and take these ideas and have someone take charge of this, they would see real results because the different types of content and how you describe them going from one to the next and not forgetting success.
Right.
I think that's important because that can happen. You have a client, you're good, you
Right.
move on for new ones and you leave that one behind and someone else comes in and does the same thing you just did.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Um, Very good. So I guess the question is for those watching, they're thinking someone's got to do it. You mentioned the work. It's a lot of work. So who's going to do it? What's it going to cost? What do you think about that?
Well, that's a $64,000
It
question, no
is.
pun
That may be
intended,
what it
right?
costs.
Yeah, it could well be, and it might be a heck of a bargain at that. But as you said, the details matter. The devil's in the details, and it's sad when you see companies put almost all the effort and investment into it and get very little results just because they've skipped some of the nuance that's so important. Who's going to do it? That's going to depend on every company. What it's going to cost will depend on the company. In some cases, you've got people inside that are comfortable getting in front of a camera, writing a quick script, coming up with a list of bullet points, and speaking very succinctly into the camera in ways that can be captured as video, shared as audio, transcribed into text, provided in a number of formats. In some cases, though, companies may be very lean in their staffing. They may have people that just kind of think they got writer's block and aren't comfortable doing it. So they may need to access outside resources. And the reality is that the I think the most common situation is somewhere in between. Maybe you find an agency that understands the mechanics of how to do the digital marketing, but you handle the content creation internally. Maybe you find a nearby art school that has a great video program where you can engage a contractor to come in and help you do some of the video creation content. So you can think creatively about it, but it is a lot of work. Someone's going to have to own it, and you are going to have to invest some money. The flip side is this is a marketing and a sales investment. It's not just kind of squandering on brand. This is a lot about lead generation too.
Absolutely. And thinking about that, you have the machine in place to create the content, whether it's articles, blogs, videos, podcasts. What about delivery methods? Because you have to get it to those who you want to see it. What do you think about that? What are some strategies there?
So I think there's two important things to keep in mind. Number one, a lot of this is changing. Everything used to be by text, kind of a blog post, web page, something like that. But people seem to be shifting their content consumption habits in ways where they're doing it much more passively when they're doing something else. They're listening to a podcast while they're walking the dog. They're listening to a YouTube video, but just the audio part while they're doing dishes or things like that. So your content has to be accessible. It has to be reasonably entertaining. It has to be providing value. So it's something that as they're driving to pick the kids up from soccer practice, they'll put it on, they'll listen to it, and they'll get something out of it. And if it does, then maybe they'll dive deeper or maybe they'll remember it when it comes time to shortlist. The other thing is that it has to be across different kinds of channels, not only to make it accessible to people who passively consume it, but not everyone's going to sit down and want to read. Some people prefer to absorb information by reading, but some prefer it by video. Some prefer it by infographics or checklists or other kinds of things. So it's important to create content that reaches people in the way they like to consume it, as well as the place and mindset when increasingly they consume it, which is not at their desk doing a Google search to find a blog post that they can read about fixing a problem.
Exactly. And you have to know your audience. That's critical. I think about for us at ISSA, we have different audiences, and I can point to one type of worker or industry segment where they listen to more podcasts than another one does. And that's because they're the type that's out there working, driving long distances, working from the truck, working in the field, and they
Mhm.
listen more than they might watch. So, yeah, you have to know your audience.
Yeah, great point. And also understand that the goal is not to create some viral video. The goal is to create a body of knowledge that in aggregate establishes a lot of credibility and trust. People see your face, they hear your voice, they understand who you are, they get a sense for the company. They know that you've got great detailed content they can dig into deeper if they want. And over time, in aggregate, what that does is establishes you in a very strong position as kind of a go-to authority and a trusted resource.
Yeah, if you try to go viral with something, you're going to be very disappointed and you're probably going to give up.
Right.
Yeah. All right. So I think we covered some nice points. Any final words of advice you'd like to close with?
It's important to start and to not quit and to reach out to people like Jeff, or watch what they're doing and learn, model on what they're doing and how they experiment, how they test, and what they're doing successfully. I mean, this is not a maybe we should do it. This is a must do business activity going forward.